Hey everyone, and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks with your Geo teacher Jen. And we're doing Throwback Thursday today. Last week we talked about Othniel Charles Marsh, and this week we're going to talk about his rival, Edward Drinker Cope. And boy did this guy have an ego. But we'll get there. So, Edward Cope was an American paleontologist, zoologist, and comparative anatomist in a heated rivalry with Othniel Charles Marsh. He was born to a wealthy Quaker family in which his father wanted him to be a gentleman farmer, but he said, no, I want to be a scientist. So, he actually had very little formal training, and all his scientific endeavors actually nearly bankrupted him several times. Cope wrote 1,400 papers and named over 1,000 vertebrate species, most of which were living species, things like Great Basin spadefoot toad, but you didn't know that came from this guy. But many of his rivals kind of questioned the validity of a lot of, or not even the validity, the accuracy, simply because he was a bit egotistical. He didn't have the formal training that everybody else had. Despite the fact that he came from a wealthy family, he didn't actually go to college even though he could afford it, unlike Marsh, who had to get money from a family member. Don't ask me how that works. If I came from a wealthy family, I'd let them pay for me to go to college. But that's a whole other story. On the note of all these vertebrate species he's found, a lot of the fossilized ones that he found actually got synonymized with things that Marsh found and other rivals. So, c'est la vie. Cope had such a big ego that he actually donated his body to science. Well, okay, not his body. His head and his brain. His skull is actually the type specimen for Homo sapiens. Yeah, that's how big an ego he had. He was so full of himself that the reason he donated his brain to science was that he wanted to be able to compare his brain to Marsh's and prove that he had the bigger, smarter brain. And it's a good thing he died first, because when push came to shove, Marsh said, "This is stupid. I'm going to be buried with my entire body, thank you very much. I don't need to prove anything to him, especially because he's dead." So, Cope is never going to know who was smarter. Though if it goes with anything that's left over from their work, it's probably Marsh. Sorry, bud. But he did name a lot of things that are still accepted, or mostly accepted, so I'm just going to go through a list of them. Most of these are not going to be dinosaurs, but you probably will recognize them. So first we have Amphicelius, oh my gosh, tongue twister today. Sauropod related to Diplodocus. It's found in the Morrison Formation. We had one vertebrae, I think, from it, and then it got lost, so who knows if this is valid, but people still use it. He named the family Archosauria, so that's the family that includes pterosaurs, dinosaurs, both of the non-avian and avian variety, and crocodiles, which are not in this picture for some reason. But that is our big groups for Archosauria. He named another Morrison sauropod, Camarasaurus. That one's definitely still in use. I mean, that's the one that has 5 species, so whoa! He named the Archosaur Champsosaurus, which is found in Cretaceous rocks and in Paleocene rocks. So it's one of the animals that lived through the KPG asteroid destruction of death. One of my personal favorite dinosaurs, Coelophysis. He named Dimetrodon, which was a synapsid, a mammal-like reptile that lived during the Permian period. He named this funky amphibian named Diplocalus, or boomerang head if you want. He named yet another Morrison sauropod Dystrophaeus. He named Dimetrodon's cousin Edaphosaurus, so this is the herbivorous version of Dimetrodon. He named Elasmosaurus, and there's a funny story behind that one. This is the one that he put the head on the butt end, and then Marsh called him out for it. Some anatomist you were. Anyway, he also named Eriops, which is another really big amphibian. He named the family Hadrosauridae, so that's all of our duckbill dinosaurs. He named Lystrosaurus, which is one of the animals that Darwin used to say, hey, I think all of our continents used to be one big, massive continent called Pangaea. Except I don't think he used the term Pangaea, somebody else did. So yeah, no, Alfred Wegener was the one who named Pangaea. But anyway, I digress. The final animal that Cope named that you guys would recognize is Monoclonius, which is a centrosaurine ceratopsian related to, Centrosaurus, Chasmosaurus. Not Chasmosaurus, that's a different group. That's Chasmosaurians. It's been a long day, guys. Anyway, a ceratopsian. He had several dinosaurs that were named after him, but just like many of his finds had been synonymized, all of the ones that were named after him were synonymized with other things. For example, Drinker became Dryosaurus. Things happen. And he's dead, so he's just gonna have to cope with it. Okay. I'll fossilise you guys later.